Hey everyone, welcome to another session of A Day in the Life of a BA. My name is James. I'm the president of IIBA Ireland and I'll be your host today. At IIBA Ireland, our mission is to support professionals by sharing knowledge, common terminology, and practical insights into the work that us business analysts do across different industries, domains, or even different sectors. And that's the whole point of this series, to give you a chance to hear directly from each BA professional about their typical day. So like their processes, the tools and techniques that they use, the challenges and successes that they encounter. And each month, we're inviting a different BA professional to share their personal journey, highlighting the approaches that they take, the technologies they rely on, and real world examples from their own work. So whether you're considering a career in business analysis, you're already working alongside another business analyst, or just simply looking to deepen your understanding of the role, today's session is designed to give you that clarity, the confidence, and a shared language for working effectively with different business analysts. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Raj, who will share best practices working as a BA using AI, so in an AI-enabled BA, and sharing practical insights from his own experience. Throughout the session, please feel free to turn on your cameras if you like, just to interact, and submit your questions in the Q&A tab or the chat. We'll go through them at the end of Raj's presentation. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to yourself, Raj.
I have to say I'm disappointed. Do you know why? I have to say I'm disappointed that AI was not available to me earlier. When I was in school, at the university, and especially in the early days of my career. And I think back to those moments when I was struggling to keep up, when I needed to adapt quickly, learn faster, or even solve problems more efficiently. Imagine if only AI had been around then, how much more I could have achieved. But here's the thing, as much as I feel the twinge of disappointment, I'm equally excited. In fact, I'm thrilled to be here today. We are the ones who have access to this incredible technology right now, and we can harness its potential to transform our work, our productivity, and ultimately our success. And that's what today's talk is all about. How I am AI enabled and how AI is my assistant, helping me as a BA or a project manager to perform better, work smarter, and make an impact faster. And I want to show you how AI can do the same for you and for all of us. Good morning, everyone, and good day to anyone joining from other time zones as well. Thanks for having me here today. I'm Raj Jonnalagedda. I'm an AI-enabled business analyst and a delivery lead at Avanade, Australia. I'm a project lead on a Copilot project and a technical lead on an AI governance team. I'm a Microsoft MVP in M365 Copilot technology area. And I run Hey BA, a LinkedIn community empowering BAs to navigate the AI era with confidence and ethical responsibility. I have a background in business analysis, solution architecture, and project delivery. I'm a BA enabled by the power of AI. Every day, I have the opportunity to integrate AI into my work. But it's not just about access to AI tools. I'm trained to use AI responsibly and effectively. I understand the policies and principles behind safe and ethical use of AI. It ensures that I work within the boundaries of enterprise data protection and security compliance. I'm always mindful of the tools and apps I'm using, and I'm aware of the data I'm handling. And I'm careful to safeguard the trust my stakeholders place in me. And AI isn't just about automation. For me, it's about continuous learning and evolving. I've spent time learning techniques like prompt engineering and how to apply them to complex business use cases. And now agents and agentic AI workflows. So it's an ongoing journey for me. And every day I solve problems for my stakeholders using AI. And with each challenge, I get better. And so I'm AI enabled not just once, but every single day as I continue to adapt and grow. So the question is, how many of us are AI enabled and are on the journey of using AI tools? So rise and shine, it is still AI time. The future is now. I must tell you, it's like having a genie 24 cross 7. AI turns data crunching into a breeze, uncovering insights faster than I can say the word spreadsheet. AI saves me time, summarizes my documents, drafts my content, and makes my learning feel like I'm leveling up in a video game. You won't believe this was my synopsis for one of my talks 2 years ago, and I still live this experience every day. Now to our topic, a day in the life of an AI-enabled business analyst. Today, I'll walk you through a typical day in my life. My day starts with a stand-up, followed by refinement sessions, sprint plannings, workshops, team meetings, learning hours, and wraps up with a day in reflection. And each of these moments represents an opportunity to use AI to enhance my work. And today, throughout my talk, I'll highlight key use cases using M365 Copilot. And by the end of this talk, you'll see how AI can be truly your personal assistant. You'll take away with you prompts and techniques for each of those events in the day. You will have access to my Hey BA newsletter where I'll share all my articles on AI. And you'll have access to me. You can DM me anytime on LinkedIn for tips and tricks on using M365 Copilot for your use cases. We'll have time for Q&A at the end of the session. And throughout my talk, if you see any of these insights interesting and if they resonate with you, give me a thumbs up. Your reaction will boost my confidence and our confidence. We are all in this together. So without any further ado, let's just dive into the day in the life. Just before that, how many of you are using AI at work? Just quick show of hands. No one is using AI at work. Yep, James is using AI. That's good. Um, okay, how many of you know what is the M365 Copilot? Trish, yeah, I can see a few hands. How many of you are familiar with Copilot in general? Okay, I can see some hands. Okay. And how many of you are familiar with what's a work mode and a web mode in Copilot? Okay, so let's cover some basic definitions and then we can jump into the day in the life. Okay. So M365 Copilot, it's a Copilot inside your everyday Microsoft 365 app, and it works wherever your work already lives, like your Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Loop, and etc. So in Outlook, it can the Copilot, the AI sitting in Outlook can draft emails, summarize threads, and help you draft a instant reply. And then in Teams, it can summarize meetings, extract actions, and it can answer questions. In Word, it can draft documents. In Excel, it can analyze your data. In PowerPoint, it can turn your ideas into slides. And in OneNote, it can organize your notes and it can create plans. And across 365, Microsoft 365, it can connect everything that you already have, and then it can actually look at all those documents that you have access to. And the work mode specifically, it's Copilot using your organization's data, and it will help you work with the data that you can see at work. And then in web mode, it can help you look at data that's on the public internet and answer questions. So that's the difference between work mode and web mode. Yeah. Any questions there before we start off with the first event in our day in the life, which is the stand-up? Okay, so let's start with the first thing in the morning, our daily stand-up. So if you have ever been in a stand-up, you know it can be quick, but it's critical for setting the tone for the day. AI has completely transformed how I get ready for my stand-up. Now, before using AI, preparing for daily stand-up took me about 10 to 15 minutes. There were times when I would rush into it unprepared. I had to manually sift through emails and chats to gather updates for that day. And now with tools like Copilot, I just run a quick prompt. In a couple of minutes, I'm fully prepared. Let's see how this is done by Copilot. So that's how Copilot looks in your Teams. And you can launch M365 Copilot in Teams, and it can switch to work mode. That way, when I'm in work mode, it has access to all the work I do. And then you can type in your prompt. So there on that window, you can see the prompt window, right? And then start by asking Copilot to help you get ready for the day by reviewing yesterday's Teams chat, emails, and upcoming meetings. And in your prompt, you ask Copilot to review Teams chats and identify key priorities and goals for the day. List any issues or blockers discuss with your team, and you can ask it to filter out your focus time. You don't want to see a lot of your focus time appearing in your summaries for that day. And then you can ask Copilot to present details in a table format with column, like date, task details, key priorities for that day, if it's an issue or a blocker. Um, and then Copilot accesses your work data securely via what's called Microsoft Graph. And all your data is secured within the enterprise-grade compliance boundaries. And your license can see only the data and documents that you can see. So it's all secure. And when you send your standard prompt, Copilot will start to work its magic, and Copilot presents results in a table format. I can list key priorities and goals, like you asked, and issues or blockers. Now you can think of altering your prompt to generate a status report instead of a daily stand-up. That's a use case for delivery people. I'll alter the prompt for Copilot to report weekly tasks, issues, or blockers, or generate a table for a weekly status report. How does that sound? Interesting. So you try it out and let me know if you like it. Thumbs up before we move on to the next event of the day. Have you already tried it? Has anyone tried this already? A standard prompt? Cool. If you go to my newsletter, you will find standard prompt as one of the articles on my newsletter. So there's a very detailed prompt there. You can try it on Copilot. Okay. So after stand up, it is time to dive into our user story refinement. And this is where AI really starts to shine for me. So as we refine user stories, AI analyzes my requirements. It identifies patterns. It drafts user stories and even suggests acceptance criteria. Can you believe that? It helps me ensure that my user stories are clear, concise, and aligned with our business objectives. I'll also answer certain questions. So if AI does all this, what do we do? So we'll come to that point as well while we are discussing this scenario. But I must say, before AI, preparing for refinement session took considerable amount of time. Now I save that time by focusing on prompting AI, generating and reviewing the output, and refining the outcomes to benefit my team. And of course, I ensure to review AI generated content for accuracy. So always review AI generated content for accuracy. So to do this, you launch M365 Copilot in Word. So we discussed that M365 Copilot is present across all your M365 apps. So it's also present in Word if you have a license for Copilot. So let's provide some business context to Copilot and ask Copilot to generate some requirements. Now, we'll not just create any random requirements. We'll give Copilot a specific role and a task with some goals and ask Copilot to present requirements in a table format. Right? For this example today, I'll use what's called a create prompting technique. Now, every prompting technique has got a pattern and a format, and always use a standard technique so that you get consistent outputs. Right? So today I'm going to demonstrate what's called a create prompting technique. The technique itself asks the AI tool, the Copilot, to assume a C, a character or a persona. R, we pass on the request to or the task. This is R for request. E, we provide an example. A is for any adjustment that Copilot needs to consider. Now T is the types of output, and E is evaluation or validation of result that Copilot should do. Okay, so let's see an example. Now C, character or persona, I'm asking Copilot to assume the persona of John Smith, certified BA. The request is to create a set of high-level requirements for a cloud-based web portal and a mobile app. Now I've provided some examples, and then adjustments are that it should be a cloud-based SaaS application, 30 requirements, and consider up to 5 privacy and security requirements. Now outputs requirements are based on SMART principles. Give me outputs with table format, with columns type, owner, priority, etc. You can always increase the number of columns if you want. And then for evaluation of outputs, I'm asking Copilot to maintain a tone and style that is professional and suitable for business and technical discussion. Right? So that's the example. Now that's how a full prompt looks like. If you go into one of my articles on my newsletter, you'll see the full prompt there. We'll copy the prompt and we'll paste it into the Copilot window in Word. That's how it looks when you paste the prompt in Copilot window within Word. And paste it, and hit the generate button, and Copilot will start to work its magic. And remember all that Microsoft Graph and Graph API connections and all that we discussed. And since this is in Word, Copilot starts to draft a detailed introduction and an overview before listing the requirements in a table format. Now, this is based on the context that you provided to Copilot. So if you have not provided context and if it is drafting something, it means it is actually cooking something up. So always provide good context to whatever you're asking Copilot to do in terms of specifications or meeting notes or um, project documentation, things like that. Provide more context so that your AI outputs are accurate. And this is a perfect way of to start drafting a requirement document. And that's the requirement table. Once Copilot starts to draft your requirements, that's how it starts to look. See the columns that we requested Copilot to generate. You save this document for review later on. Do not consider this document as final, as AI-generated content can be inaccurate. It may contain gaps. It may contain bias. AI can make mistakes. So always review AI-generated content for accuracy. And one thing here, many people consider it is not right to use AI to generate requirements. May not be. Maybe do not use AI to generate requirements without providing deeper context. That is my suggestion. Always provide context like meeting notes, workshop minutes, specifications, so that AI generated content is accurate, as I said before, and use AI outputs to discuss with your team and enhance them before you publish them officially to wider audiences on your project. And now once you've saved those requirements, remember the task that we are stitching together. First the requirements, then user stories, then the acceptance criteria. So we have done the first bit. Now we will open another document and start another prompt in Microsoft Copilot window within Word. This time we are going to ask Copilot to generate user stories and acceptance criteria from the requirements that we have just generated. And we're going to ask Copilot to use the given, when, then format, also called the Gherkin format. Most people disagree with involving AI for user story generation. They consider that that's the creative output of a BA. The stories and criteria need to arise from the nuances, context, and clarity that the BA has. But what if we are stuck with the writer's block? What if we are entirely new domain? Or what if we have joined a new project, we don't have that much time? I believe there's no right or wrong way with this. Use AI safely, ethically, and responsibly. Okay, and always review our content for accuracy and discuss with your AI output with your team. Don't just publish them after you have generated them with AI. So coming back to our topic, I asked Copilot to present response in a table format and then list the columns that we need for the user story. Now the user stories prompt is also there in the article. Please go there and check that. I'm just using this for our context today. And once I copy and paste the prompt in Outlook, I need to provide the context. I will attach the earlier generated requirements document as well. And then Copilot will start to draft user stories and acceptance criteria. See there, there are columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. The fourth column is user story, and the fifth one is the acceptance criteria in the given, when, then format. So this method is flexible, fast, and saves me a ton of time to come up with the first draft of requirement, user stories, and acceptance criteria, especially when you're in a new project or a domain, and when there is a lot to learn. This fastens your project time. And also this process of working or co-thinking, I call it, with AI will help you with questions for stakeholder elicitation workshop. And remember to have a conversation with the AI, and you challenge AI's views. Don't take it for granted. Whenever AI starts to say, "Oh, that's excellent. What a great idea. I like that," and all that, always go back and challenge AI's views. Ask a question. Why do you think so? Why do you think that is a good idea? How come you haven't considered this particular aspect of the story? Ask it questions so that you challenge it, and it can actually, you'll see that it's actually flipping, and then saying, "Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Let me consider this aspect now." It'll pivot and work its way around, and that's the best way to engage with AI. There's a separate article I've also written on challenging AI's views and asking AI to challenge your views as well, right? So both sides, both ways, it's important. Any questions there? Did you find that interesting? Has anyone tried generating requirements, user stories, acceptance criteria with AI. Any thumbs up? Cool. Thank you. Okay, next up is sprint planning. Now, we all know that planning a sprint isn't just about throwing stories into a backlog. It's about making smart decisions that set your team up for success. And with AI, sprint planning has become much more efficient. Before AI, sprint planning involved uncertainty, I tell you, whether it's from limited experience, lack of technical depth, or product knowledge, or your estimates were unclear due to lack of understanding of certain team constraints or certain dependencies or complexities involved with development. You may not know the platform well, right? And so with now with AI being there, AI starts to provide clarity on story dependencies. It can um, uncover the backlog priorities, and it can ensure alignment with team capacity if you provide the context to it. And then it can help me walk in confidently and make smarter decisions in my sprint planning. Let's see how the AI can help you with this with an example. Now we'll reference the user stories generated in earlier scenario and ask Copilot to generate complexity and effort in t-shirt sizes. This is exactly what we do in sprint planning, but we are taking AI's assistance to prepare for sprint planning. Always consider this angle that we are discussing how to take AI's assistance before we do the actual work. We are not asking AI to replace anything that we do. Right? So that's important. So I'll provide some context to Copilot in terms of my team skills, experience available, and some constraints. And we'll ask Copilot to provide a reason why it thinks certain effort items are and complexity is so and so, right? And again, um, response to be presented in table formats with all those columns like t-shirt sizes, complexity, and the reason it thinks so. Copy the prompt and paste it in your Copilot in Word and hit the generate button. And Copilot starts by replaying my team capacity, constraints, and assumptions. I'll give you an example here. What I've said in the context, I have told Copilot that I have two junior developers with 2 years of experience, each in .NET web application development. I have one senior developer with 5 years of web application development experience. And I'm saying the constraint here is that the team has no experience with authentication. Right? This is just a simulation. It's an example. It's not any real-time issue that I'm trying to highlight here. But depending on this, I'm expecting that Copilot will provide some justification and reasoning, and then I'm expecting that it will mark those particular items as high complexity for my context. Right? Let's see that. It then starts to list stories, complexity and effort, along with a reason why it thinks the effort and complexity is that way. See the first item. It has marked my complexity as high and t-shirt size as large. And because the reasoning it says is that it requires user authentication and secure storage of personal data, which the team has no experience with. Right? Even the second item is large and complexity is high, involves authentication mechanisms which the team lacks experience in implementing. And then it starts to code medium and small items as well as high, medium, and low items in terms of complexity. So it's a good place to start with, but it's not definitely something I would publish right away. And then next, I want to stretch Copilot Smart by asking it to give my stories some story points. Now I need to give it some context as well. Story points correlate to my number of days of effort and t-shirt size. Right? This is me coming from a Scrum Master point of view. Um, uh, I've, I've played the role of Scrum Master in two large-scale complex projects. So I'm giving it some assumptions about the effort. Small is a day, medium is 3 days, and large is 5 days, and so on. Simple assumptions to provide the context to Copilot. And then I ask Copilot to club and sequence dependent stories into 25-point sprints. My velocity is 25, so I want Copilot to think of dependencies between stories, club them into 25 bundles of 25 story points. Do you get the idea? So this is actually to actually build a backlog. So it will help product owners as well. So let's see what it did and how. So type in the prompt or copy and paste it into Copilot in Word and hit the generate button. And then Copilot starts by listing prioritized stories. And I'm assuming it's doing by effort and complexity. Let's see that. Because once it lists the stories, it then starts to club the dependent stories into 25-point sprints. And I asked it to group by cumulative effort of 25 points. So see how it can give me a nice list with a subtotals of 25, the highlighted bar there. And you might ask, if Copilot is doing all this, what about me? Remember, you are the pilot and AI is merely an assistant. You are the thinker, the reviewer, and the owner of the information you generate using AI. Right? How does that sound? Has anyone tried this technique before using AI? Do you like the idea of trying this? Probably would you try it tomorrow? Any thumbs up? Cool. Okay. Um, let's start off with the next event in the day. In the afternoon, I start to focus on preparing for a workshop. Now, whether it's a design thinking session or a problem solving session, AI helps me pull together agendas, meeting details, and presentation decks in no time. Also, Copilot has saved me a ton of time in meetings, taking notes, tracking actions, speakers, and attendees. Now, this is the scenario where my colleague and I were preparing for a stakeholder workshop, and we had to focus on the details and planning. So we started meeting recording and transcription using Copilot in Teams. And Copilot took care of making notes, tracking attendees, agreements, actions, who were mentioned in the conversation, etc. So my colleague and I were busy in the conversation, so we could focus on the conversation and let Copilot do the heavy lifting. Um, so before the meeting finished, I started a conversation with Copilot in the sidecar. So that's the sidecar that appears when you're actually recording, transcribing a meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I started by asking Copilot to recap the meeting so far and see how it can actually recap the meeting for me. Here's the recap of the meeting so far, and it actually gives me the full meeting note. And then I asked if any due dates were discussed. And then it comes up with these are the dates that you and your colleague discussed. And then I asked who will be attending the workshop that we are planning for. And then we were busy discussing names, but Copilot was taking notes. So it's actually saying the attendees for your workshop from your side will be Bob and Lee and Sarah. So these are all simulated names, by the way. And any specific task for me and my colleague that were discussed, I asked. And it comes up with Raj, these are your tasks, and Jay, these are the tasks for James. And then I asked who will be attending the workshop. And so Copilot made sure nothing was missed. And after the meeting, Copilot creates detailed notes, action items that I can review, ensuring nothing gets overlooked. It's like having a second brain that remembers everything for you before and after the meeting. I'm sure most of you must have used Copilot for meetings. Any show of hands if anyone has used Copilot for meetings here? No one? I have but found it misses shooting. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So try it out. Next time, use workshop meeting notes as source for requirement. Let me know how that worked for you. Um, uh, so you could provide more context, like and use it for um, a power influence matrix, for example. Right? And later in the day, I have a team meeting for a community of practice event. And again, AI helps me keep track of everything from emails to meeting summaries and even drafting invites. And I can't emphasize enough how AI has helped me before, during, and after meetings. And the benefits are incomparable to what has existed before. It's on a different level altogether. This is the email I received regarding a business analysis event from one of my colleagues. And Copilot actually offers summaries of emails at the top of each email so that I can quickly read and understand what's in the email without going through the entire email. And if I'm interested in the detail, I can then read through the email. And with new Outlook, Copilot offers scheduling Copilot as well as drafting assistance when you're trying to draft a new email. Um, and Schedule with Copilot actually looks for available slots for you and your attendees so that it can auto schedule, can at least draft and keep it ready for you to send. And that's a screenshot showing it can draft an agenda out of an email. As we discussed, Copilot offers to track attendees' meeting notes and actions. And after the meeting, it provides meeting recap, who has spoken and when, with AI notes and transcripts. And for me as a BA, this has been invaluable. And even as a project manager, I start to record all my meetings so that I can actually look at the notes and actions later on. So it ensures I stay on top of every detail during my stakeholder meeting. But always check AI responses. AI can make mistakes, and AI generated content may contain inaccuracy. Um, and now to one of my most favorite parts of the day, my hour of learning and development. AI personalizes my learning journey and makes it much more effective. And in the past, learning was more time consuming, expensive, and results are not instant. They were not that satisfying. But with AI, learning outcomes are now immediate and confidence levels have greatly improved. So here's how AI helped me study for my TOGAF practitioner exam. Now, in this particular use case, I point Copilot to an online knowledge source, such as a website or an article or a training course, and I ask Copilot to coach me for an upcoming exam by doing some smart quizzes based on the source. Now, the quiz is in a multiple choice style with 4 options for each question and 1 correct option and 3 incorrect, but they're quite close to the right answer. And I ask Copilot to play the questions one by one. And I'll say for each right answer, I ask Copilot to score me. And if I'm wrong, it tell me the right answer and explain the concept briefly, point me to the relevant section in the article, and so on. I can even ask Copilot to start a timer in the background. And so when I ask it, tell me when you're ready, and I ask it to start with stating the reference website because I want to be sure what the sources it's using for my quiz, right? So that's actually Copilot in Teams, and the prompt is in one of my articles. So I copy and paste that. You could actually alter that for a different source. I'm using this for my TOGAF exam, but could be any of your other examinations. Um, but take that prompt, alter it, and then once it starts to play, you'll see Copilot starts the quiz, and that's my first question. The options and it offered, and you see there are buttons below. I can choose C, choose A, and choose B. And for the first question, I got the answer right. And it still gives me a brief explanation. It doesn't go into details because I got it right. I could actually alter the prompt as well to give me to do deep dives even if I'm right or wrong. So I can alter the prompt as well. And the second question, when it's presented, I got it wrong. And so Copilot explains to me briefly the concept and gives me a reference. And I can ask my score at any stage of the quiz. I can ask for my areas of improvement. So those are the areas of improvement. Yes, just make sure validate the questions and answers against a credible source. Yes, that's the reason why I started the quiz with asking Copilot to play back the source it's using, so that I make sure it's a credible source. You're right. Um, and then I can ask Copilot to run a short course for me on the areas of improvement it suggested. So, for example, here I'm asking it to deep dive into a TOGAF ADM. And then I can even ask questions like, what makes the exam questions so tricky? And I can discuss with Copilot as though it's my study buddy, right? And so throughout the process, it felt like having a personal coach walking me through the entire learning process. So try it out with different concepts that you want. For example, if you think you're continuously forgetting certain concepts, you try this with either ChatGPT or Copilot. Ask it to do quizzes, and then you can even suggest mnemonics for you so that you can remember things for later on. Right? Try this if you want, and let me know how it worked for you. I'm always available on LinkedIn. You can DM me anytime. So as the day wraps up, I take a moment to reflect. With AI, tasks that used to take hours now take minutes. Now, may I ask, how many of you have suffered from what's called a blank page syndrome or a writer's block? Now, I've always had the writer's block whenever I'm starting to write a new document, even if I had the right template. Now, a right template is never the right template. Um, so with AI, no more writer's block, no more manual effort writing my first draft or crunching data. I tell you, AI is here not to replace what I do. It's here to enhance it, allowing me to focus on bigger and more impactful work. And that's how I end my day, with AI by my side, helping me achieve more. So let's be clear. I am the pilot and AI is my assistant. While AI gives us incredible tools and insights, it is my decision making and my creativity that drives my success. AI enhances what we do, but never replaces the human touch. So, my dear BAs, what I would urge you to do is to embrace AI as a partner in your work, use AI responsibly, understand principles of safe and ethical AI, see it as a way to enhance your skills, increase your productivity, and stay curious. Use AI to save time on tedious tasks and keep learning and exploring the possibilities AI is offering. I look forward to continuing this conversation. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Check out my Hey BA series of articles. These are weekly series that deep dive into AI scenarios specifically tailored for BAs. Last week, I posted an article on agents that you can find in Microsoft Copilot ecosystem. So stay in touch if you want to chat more, and thank you.
Thanks,
Over
Raj.
to you, James.
Sorry, I was
Thanks,
kind of on
Trish.
my video there. Thanks so much, Raj, for that session. That was really, really interesting. And I can see definitely how it kind of it helps us do our work better as BAs, definitely saving time. Because a lot of suppose we have a lot of menial tasks that we kind of previously we would have been like, oh, if there was a tool we could use, it'd be great. But now that we have AI, it's so important that to know how to use it, but also ethically to validate and to verify like the outputs, make sure that it is giving you the correct information and that you validate it with your stakeholders because I suppose it's not taking over our role as a lot of people think, but it will help us kind of, I suppose, think better and like to do our job better. So really, really interesting. Just before we jump into a question, I know there's a lot of like different AI tools. We've like ChatGPT, we've Claude, we've Copilot. How would BAs, I suppose, where should they target their efforts? Like, should they look at one particular tool or should they kind of mess around with different tools or like what would kind of be your recommendation there?
Really good question. I always believe that we need to specialize in one stack. And we also have to remain agnostic to tools as well so that we don't look at requirements from one tool perspective.
Hmm.
Um, so have a broader knowledge across different tools, have knowledge across AI concepts, think all Gen AI concepts, terminology, responsible AI, ethics principles, governance, assurance frameworks, um, look at global frameworks, what OECD, NIST, Australia's governance principles, like DTA's governance principles. Look at all this to understand the landscape and then deep dive into one or two tools. Because once you understand the concept, it's easy to identify where this concept is, where can I pinpoint, what layer in the stack I can look at. It's easy. And then to look at that particular layer. It won't take much time to learn the tool, but if you know the concept. But if you don't know the concept, then every tool seems so difficult or challenging to pick up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that has worked for me. I specialized in M365 Copilot, the full stack, the other Copilots as well. And then I can switch between Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, whenever I want to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's all about knowing kind of which tool to give you
Yes.
the right information.
Yeah. Especially for BAs. You can't predict which project you'll go into the next 6 months. And so now you might be working on Copilot, but next you're working on ChatGPT, or you might walk into a project where they're using a totally bespoke LLM. Now, good, you know the concept, and then if it's a new model, then you just pick up and or you sit with the architect and understand, okay, how does this work? You ask the right questions, and that's it. In a couple of days, you know how to work with that project, those tools, and those teams,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then you can switch into your requirement mode. You can switch into your architecture mode. You can switch into your delivery modes once you know how the model works.
okay, thank you. We
Thank
have
you.
a question in the Q&A. I'm not sure if you can see it. If you want, I can read it out to you.
Mhm. Where is the Q&A? I can look at the chat, but where's the Q&A?
I can read it out. It's from
Okay,
Melanie.
cool.
So it's just, are you using a licensed version of Copilot?
Are you asking I'm using the licensed version?
Yeah, of Copilot.
Well, yeah. So yes, I'm using the licensed version. I'm a project manager on a large-scale Copilot rollout. I'm using the licensed version. Yes. When you use the licensed version, it's grounded in your work and it has visibility to your documents and emails and chats and so on. But the unlicensed version has a web grounding, which means that it's as good as your chat window into a GPT or a Gemini model, where it look at sources on the internet and answer your questions. It can't look at your work. So if you want to make it look at your work, you need to upload a document, and then it will look at the document and it synthesize answers for you. But that's the difference between the licensed version and a unlicensed version. Yeah, the non-licensed version is very limited. That's right. That's right.
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask Raj? If you want to come off mute, you're more than welcome. I think everyone's still waking up. Or you want to put it into the chat if you're shy. It's afternoon where Melanie is. No, no more questions.
It's just Melanie here. I thought it was really good, so thank you very much for the share. And yeah, I'm in WA. Somehow I found it, and I thought this sounds really good, so I just found it on LinkedIn. So yeah, and it's
Thank you
a
so
good
much.
time of day for me. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Please take a look at the article on my newsletter as well, especially this year we kicked off with responsible AI concepts. I thought it'd be good to have that break and take a look at responsible AI before we jump into our complex agentic AI frameworks and agentic AI tools. So please have a look at those two articles, because that grounds every BA into the responsible AI world. Because going forward, the responsibility of responsible AI lies with the BAs, I believe, because you'll become the first go-to, may I help you counter for your project. And when AI projects start looking at a BA, and then the BA takes custody of responsible AI. Because if a AI tool fails either to explain things, why things went wrong, or it's not transparent, or it's building something out of biased data, it all boils down to requirements and how we have written those requirements of responsible AI within the tool. So please have a look at the couple of articles that were written beginning of this year, but then the most recent one talks about Copilot agents. And we'll build it on. This year, there's more coming into agentic AI as well. So please stay in touch. There's more coming from me for agents and agentic AI. And thank you.
Raj, quick question.
Yep.
I noticed you created the prompt and then went into Microsoft Word for it to produce the output, I guess.
Yep.
Was there a reason why you did that, or you pretty much can create the prompt and use it in any tool, any Microsoft tool? I mean?
Yes, excellent question, Chris. So what happens there is prompting is also an evolving journey. For me, my initial prompts when I was learning the tool looked far more basic when I actually evolved in terms of how I prompt now. So I say that because you start to rely on one-shot prompts in the beginning, but then you go into a conversational prompting as you learn the tool. And so at at a point you start to write more complex prompts. But at a stage when you're using a tool, you can actually take the advantage of the tool to write a better prompt for you. So you can actually ask Copilot, give it some outline, and say, draft a good prompt for me. Use a prompting technique or a framework, and actually Copilot writes the prompt for you. And then
Ah,
you can actually interrogate it to say, have you considered this? Have you considered this? And then you become the tutor and use Copilot to write the prompt for you, and then copy that prompt back into Copilot in a separate conversation and make it do the heavy lifting for you. So this is
right.
the iterative approach. Try that. Works superb and really well. Make the AI tool work for you because you are the master. You have the idea. You keep the core idea and make it work for you. So all you need to have is to the day before or the night before think through the core idea, think through all the pros and cons, different permutations, combinations, write down just the outline, and then start working with your AI tool. And then at the end, when you're comfortable with you have covered everything, then you ask the tool to write a good prompt for you. Copy that prompt into your prompt library and save it for later and use it, reuse it. Because you'll need those prompts for requirement design. You'll need that for sprint planning. You'll sometimes need it for scoping. You'll need it for summarizing, or sometimes you'll need it for elaborating. So you can use the same patterns, save them in a prompt library, and reuse them. And that's the reason why I say copy it from somewhere because I have improvised the prompt
Excellent.
and I've saved it somewhere.
Cool. In terms of producing the output, did you notice any difference whether you run the prompts in Word or the native application of Copilot itself?
Every time, every AI, even if it's the same tool, every time you run a prompt, it will generate a different output. That's the very nature of AI. They're all prediction machines. But what most tools are doing are to achieve that consistency. They are trying; it's still not there. But um, you're so by using a similar or the same prompting technique, you might actually be able to achieve similar result. Not the same result, but similar result. So it's not guaranteed that you'll exactly get the same thing every time. But if you're noticing a gap, improvise the prompt to fill the gap. Um, but yes, there is always a different response. At least for the AI tools that we have now, there's always a different response when you prompt the tool, even with the same prompt every time.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Any other questions or comments to Raj?
Yeah, ping me or DM me anytime on LinkedIn. I'm there. We can even do a one-on-one on Google Meet if you want, if you have any questions.
Okay, I think we've reached the end of our session, but thanks again, Raj, for that
Thank you.
insightful session, and thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it, and thanks for everyone for joining. Hope to see you at the next day in life of a BA. But until then, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy your morning, and yeah, we'll speak soon. So thanks everyone again. All right, bye.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.